Hi friends, I'm Jocelyn Peters. I'm the maker behind Mountain Song Designs, and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be chatting about some designs I have out and some coming out soon, something I'm working on, and then a little book chat, knitting, and whatnot. So let's get started. The first thing I'd like to point out is my Bagel Man Market Bag. Over my shoulder here, it is a pattern that I just came out with a couple weeks ago. It's such a lovely market bag, cotton yarn, worsted weight. It's a fun summer knit and thing to use in the summer. It is nearly seamless. And if you want to know any more about it, the last episode that I published, it's all on there, so check that out. Next, I'd like to share with you a sock pattern that I have coming out in about 2 weeks, June 8th, 2023. Here it is. It's a coffee and a sunrise socks. You'll see here the little coffee cups. And down here we have the sunrises. You have the suns and the rays of the rising sun coming up and more coffee cups. This yarn is Leading Men Fiber Arts, their Showstopper base. It's a lovely sock yarn, very squishy, but it holds up. It's lovely. This is Moonstone, because what comes before the sunrise, you have the moon. Breaking Ground for this lovely coffee color, and Sunny Side Up, which is perfect for the sunrises. I've been knitting a few of these recently, and we seem to keep having rainy days, and it's so lovely to have this bright yellow on these days that are so gloomy. So I've been having a lot of fun working on the samples, and this is so cute. Let me show you the heel, because I love this heel. That is the bottom of the foot. You'll see it comes, the decreases are on the bottom, and it is a reinforced heel. So if you're a person who tends to go through your socks, this is a nice heel. It's very comfortable. You don't even notice it's there. It's cushy and just a really nice heel. Now, when I made this for the standard adult sizes, small, medium, large, but I also made this for a smaller size. I'm considering it extra small, but it's basically a child size, a smaller child size. But look, it's so cute. Now this is stash yarn, so it's an acrylic yarn. I just wanted to try out the sizing, but it's adorable. Look at that. Even the coffee cups and the striping, you can still see it. And the heel here. Now, I would not have made it with this yarn. For me, it's an acrylic sock weight, but you know, for kids maybe, I don't know. But these colors, I just can't get over them. I think they're so pretty and perfect for this sock. So that's Coffee and a Sunrise. It'll be coming out in about 2 weeks in my next episode. I'm sure I will talk lots more about it, but that is coming up soon. All right, now I'd like to give you an update on something I've been working on, a work in progress, one of my WIPs. It is a lace shawl. I've shared this with you. I'm getting more done. I'm getting there. I've gotten a few more inches done. I'm almost done with a whole other chart. It's kind of hard to see, but you can see the beads from there. And just a lovely lace pattern. It's been a lot of fun. Most of it is really intuitive. Some of it I've had to count a little extra, but it's been really fun. It is the Naomh shawl by Renee Leverington. Again, I don't believe it's available for purchase at the moment, but maybe it will be someday. This is Madelinetosh Envy in her Prairie base. And it's really squishy and I really enjoy it. It's a singles, and that leads me into what I'm wearing. So let's move on from my pattern library. All right, so my singles yarn, like I mentioned, is this yarn. Now this is the Peacock Tail and Leaf Scarf by Nancy Bush. Now you can tell it's not much of a scarf. It's more of a shawl or stole. But you know why? Because I changed the yarn. It is supposed to be on lace weight yarn, and I made it on worsted. Sometimes I really enjoy seeing how some patterns will work on a different yarn weight base. And this is one that I was really happy with. It is a singles. It's Fyberspates DK worsted in the watercolor weight. Now, I don't believe that this yarn is available anymore. I made this in 2014, so it's been a little while, but it is from this book, Nancy Bush's Knitted Lace of Estonia. Now, this book is fantastic. If you have any interest in knitting traditional lace, this is the book for you. Not only does it have some really lovely patterns, but she walks you through the entire process, the traditional way of doing it, some ways that you might want to do it at your house, the different techniques about, why there are either knit on lace edgings versus knit lace edgings that you then attach by sewing them on. Not only does she explain all of this in the book, but mine also came with a DVD. So I got to sit and listen to her talk about it and show us everything that she was talking about. It's just a wonderful resource. So if you're interested in it, I would recommend it. Now the cover one, the Crown Prince shawl, I actually knit that not long after I knit this, and it took a long time. It was a labor of love, but it felt so good when I was done with it. Now, if you're interested in finding out a little bit more about it, check out my Substack. I have a post a few weeks ago about lace. I've just been wanting to knit all the lace recently. Maybe it's because of the coffee and a sunrise socks. I don't know. I want to knit the lace. So let me share a couple more patterns with you from this. So like I said, the Crown Prince square shawl. So there is that. It's so lovely. Oh my goodness. This is the scarf that I am wearing. Now you can tell that it looks different in that lace weight yarn, right? Oh, fingering weight. So it has a much airier look with the lace weight. Well, I'm sorry, fingering weight. But with the worsted weight, it's okay. Like, you still have that. It's just on a larger scale. You have these Noops, N-U-P-P-S, that is a traditional aspect of Estonian lace. And then your standard, lace techniques. So let me show you two more patterns that Queen Sylvia shawl. I just think this is so pretty. There's a lot of Noops. So if you don't want to make those, you probably don't want to make Estonian lace. But don't be scared by them. I would much prefer to do a Noop than a bobble. So if that helps you have any perspective, bobbles are fine. They're a little fiddly going back and forth. Noops, you just have to do a couple extras and a couple extra stitches in one stitch and then knit them all back together or purl them together. And the first few take a little time. You might want to swatch it. Make sure that you have figured out your tension before you get into your project, because you're probably going to be using small lace weight, maybe fingering weight. So it's good to have a little practice session in while you're swatching. But there's also, let's see, here it is, Meralda's triangular shawl. This is for fingering weight also. It would take 2 skeins. I think this would be really pretty. I'm sure I have stash, but look at that. Just look. Oh my goodness. It's so pretty. And also, did I write it down? At the end of the book, there are 38 additional charts. So for different center stitch patterns, motifs, edging. There is bigger edging, like on the Crown Prince, how there is this. So there are extras of those kinds of edgings too. You could really build your own shawl if you're willing to do a little math. I'd advise knitting one of her already made patterns first, so you know the structure and have that under your belt before you start mixing and matching. But you absolutely can, and make your own custom Estonian lace shawl. So that is Knitted Lace of Estonia. And let's move on to our last section. For this last section, I normally talk about a book that I've been reading recently, or last time I talked about Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover and how I used it to solve my WIP problem. If you're interested in that, check out last episode. Also, I wrote about it on Substack if you'd prefer to read it. Check me out there, Mountain Song Designs. But today I'm going to share with you, it's a set of books, essentially. Now, I homeschool my kids, and this year we used Bookshark. Bookshark is a literature-based history curriculum. I was interested in finding something that we could read together, that the kids could read on their own, and we could chat about a part of history together on a fairly daily basis. And we did US History. It's Level D, in case you're wondering. It's an older one, so some of these books I'm going to show you are not included on their website in their sets now. But these are the books that the kids read on their own, and then I'll share the books that we read together. So first, the kids' books: A Lion to Guard Us, Matchlock Gun, Bears on Hemlock Mountain, The Courage of Sarah Noble, Squanto, Friend of the Pilgrims, Meet Thomas Jefferson, Meet George Washington, The Cabin Faced West, sorry if the light's reflecting wrong, Pocahontas and the Strangers, Om Costo, and Robert Fulton, Boy Craftsman. Now, I don't believe that those are in the correct order at this point, but those are the books that they read. Overall, they were pretty easy reads. They were not challenging for the kids to get done. Some of them were a bit longer, but most of them were really lovely. Oh, and Sarah Plain and Tall. I actually listened to that with my daughter this morning. I hadn't read it since, well, a long time ago, and I loved it then, and I still love it now. Now, most of these books you could find at the library or on Audible or something like that, if you would rather just listen to them. But these have been really cool books. The kids really liked all of them. I don't know that any stood out more than the other, but it really put history in perspective for them. So let me share the read-alouds. There are a lot, like a lot of books. And I may not even have all of them here. They're what they call spines, which are basically the history, the meaty history books. They're not textbooks. Really, it's more of a story. They tell you the history. And I have to tell you, I have really enjoyed this just from my perspective. The kids have too, which is, you know, what you want. But I have learned so much that I'm not sure I learned when I was growing up. But let me show you the read-alouds that we used. Pedro's journal, which was essentially a journal from Christopher Columbus's trip. Walk the World's Rim. I grew up, you know, I knew that there were Spanish conquistadors during that time period in American history, but a lot of it only scratched the surface of what happened. This helps put you in the place of Cabeza de Vaca and the people he was traveling with and different types of people he's traveling with. It was really interesting. The Witch of Blackbird Pond. I have loved this book. Again, I'm I'm a book nerd. I fall in love with books when I'm young, and then they're always a part of me. That's kind of why I wanted to do this with my kids, because the things that I read, especially that I really enjoyed, they're a part of my experience. I don't know about you, when I read the books, I have this relationship with the characters, and it's like they're my friend, or I live through the experience with them, and it helps put me in that time place. But I've loved Kit for a long time. But The Sign of the Beaver, really interesting book. This is not one I would have read on my own, but I really enjoyed it. The Secret of the Sealed Room. This is about Benjamin Franklin when he was 14. And it's a really interesting look at life at that time period in Boston. I'm sure it didn't actually happen, but it gives you the feeling of what it was to live then for different types of people. It's really interesting. Johnny Tremaine. I knew this was, a movie from, I don't know, the 70s or something. And so I always thought, well, if I want to watch it, I'll do that. And I never did. And so I'm glad that I was forced to read it. We listened to this as an audiobook. And I really enjoyed it. I didn't think I would. But it was a really cool book. All right. Tolliver's Secret, cute little book about the Revolution. Carry On, Mr. Bowditch. I think this was my favorite. This was fascinating. Like, seriously fascinating, about shipping and Salem and terms. And this guy existed, like he was real, and he actually made the American Practical Navigator. Like, he revolutionized navigation for sailors all over the world. I love the phrase, it's a simple matter of mathematics. I have said that a few times since then, so I've stolen that from them. But it's a fantastic book. Even if you don't have to learn about history or whatever, it's a cool read. Lewis and Clark Expedition, that brought the expedition to life. Again, that's another thing, for 3 years they traveled out through the Louisiana Purchase, and they made it to the ocean, and then they came back. Like, that was about the extent of my education, at least that I remember. I can't say that's all I learned, but that's what I got out of it. But these books bring it to life, so I kind of have more of an appreciation for the experience that they went through. 2 more books here. Winter Danger, cute little book, talking about life at that point, and we are just now finishing up Swift Rivers, about a logging journey down the Mississippi River. It's really neat. Now, this is not a book I would expect my children to read on their own. There are long passages, big words. Most of these books have more challenging vocabulary, so it is nice to do it together. But I feel like we have all learned about US history, and it's a fascinating time, and it's starting to bring the mid-1800s more to life, and talking more about different presidents that we kind of skimmed over and kind of learned some about, but it brings them to life. So my hope is that through essentially experiencing life during these different times with these different types of people, some of them real people, some of them made up, who represent people who lived then. I'm hoping that my children and myself as well, that we all have a better understanding and appreciation of what the people have gone through who have gone before us. So that's a lot of book reviews. Maybe you can take something from it, maybe not. Now, I realize that most of you probably aren't looking for a social studies curriculum to do with children, and that's fine. But I would encourage you to look on the Bookshark website. They have lists for each level, for each area of history, US history, world history, etc. And you might look at the book list and see if any of them sound like they would be a fun read. We've only done this for the 1 year so far, but I'm impressed with the book choices. And I'm really looking forward to continuing with this. So that is my extended book kind of review, book curriculum review in a way. So I guess that's really it for me for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that I will see you again here in 2 weeks when my Coffee and a Sunrise socks will be published that week. In the meantime, you can find me on Substack, Mountain Song Designs, on Instagram, Mountain Song Designs. If you would like to check out my patterns that I already have published, you can check out Ravelry, Jocelyn Peters Designs, and on Etsy, MTN Song Designs. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Sláinte and happy knitting.
Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Country roads.